Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer board game review. And in today's review, we're going to cover the game Sixem, a fast-paced dice game, and the IP version of the game, Sixem Sourpatch. And this game is a dice rolling game by Hootenanny Games. It plays 2 to 4 players, or the Sourpatch version plays 2 to 5. And the game works by spinning a dial or drawing a tile and checking to see what is needed for the requirement to end the game. Then a player is going to roll a die along with everybody else. The higher dice starts, and you'll roll these dice to try and create lines, columns, rows, that kind of thing, whether they be horizontal or vertical. And then whoever accomplishes that goal first is the winner. There's a little bit of a twist here with the ability to remove other players' marks on their game board, but it's a pretty straightforward dice chucker. We'll talk about the setup, how to play, and of course, my review. To begin the setup for the game Sixem, the first thing you do is give everybody playing the game one of these Sixem player boards here, along with a dry erase marker. You're then going to give each player 6 die, one of each color: purple, red, blue, pink, green, and yellow. These are what you're going to use throughout the game to mark your game board. Take the spinner here and set it pretty much anywhere. It's going to just be used once to determine the round's outcome. And then you're pretty much ready to go. Yeah, it's that simple. The Sourpatch version of the game is the same thing, but you can play up to 5 players instead of 4. And instead of the spinner, you'll have these tiles here, which will shuffle and place into a stack. Pretty simple. Okay, how to play. Okay, so setting up the game Sixem was very simple, and so is the playing of the game as well. Basically what happens is everybody rolls a die. The player who gets the higher die is the player who decides to roll or take a tile if you're playing the other variant of the game. Basically, you spin this little spinner here if you won the roll, and that determines the objective for the current round. In this case, it says 2 vertical lines, or if you're playing this version here, it would say 2 of any line. And that would just remain there for players to remember what they have to do in order to win the game. Then all players take their dice, all 6 of them, and they're going to say 1, 2, 3, go. And every player is going to roll their dice. And you will be able to continue rolling like Yahtzee, but in this game, there is no amount of re-rolls you have to worry about. You can roll as many die as you want, you can roll as much as you want, up until the point where somebody says stop. And the way that works is when players are able to accumulate all of the dice into different numbers. So in this case here, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once you've got a set of your dice that all have numbers 1 through 6, it doesn't matter what color they are, it's just that you have those numbers on the table, that's when you can say stop. Every other player from then on has to stop regardless of where they're at with their die roll. Even if a player is like in the middle of a die roll, they basically just finish rolling those dice, and those are the dice they have to use for the round. So whatever you got, you've got, except for one player who has to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, one for each of their 6 dice. The player who said stop doesn't begin. It's the player to their left that begins. And they begin by selecting their dice in any order that they like and marking them on their game board. They'll go through each one of them individually and place them down on their board. I have a purple 2, so I will mark off purple 2 on my board. I have a green 3, green blue, I'll mark off the green blue on my board. And I have a green yellow, I'll mark off green yellow on my board. And I'll keep doing that for all of them and be done. The next player in clockwise order goes, the next player, and then finally the player who is able to yell stop finishes the round and marks their stuff on their game board. And the game just goes like that. Basically, everybody starts once again, rolling dice continuously until somebody gets 1 through 6. They say stop, and the player to their left starts, marking off pieces of their board up until the objective is complete. 2 vertical lines. So anytime 2 vertical lines have been met, the game ends and that player wins. However, there's one unique little rule to this game before we get in my review, and that is when it is your turn, and if you rolled your dice and you are left with a die of the same color and number, so for instance, if I had a red 1, and I had that marked already, and on a consecutive round, I had another red 1 for some reason, basically when it's your turn, you can use that die, instead of marking it on your game board, to erase a mark from another player on their game board in the same location. So that player has a red 1, you can remove their red 1. And so the benefit comes in when you choose to say the word stop, that you are going to have more options as to what to get rid of from other players, because you have to mark yours first if you're the player to the left of the player who said stop, and progressively from there. So you have kind of 2 options. You can mark spaces on your game board, or if you already have them filled, you can remove anybody's mark on their game board. Whoever has the required objective first is the winner. If more than one player have the same objective, you'll check to see if they have any additional lines, and the player with the most additional lines wins. And if there's still a tie, those players will play another round, or rounds, up until somebody has more lines than that other player, in which case they're the winner of the game. Sixem. Yep, that's the game. Pretty simple. Roll dice, mark your board, erase marks from other people's boards, complete the objective, and then spin and play again. Okay, so before we get into my full review of the game, let's cover the two separate games. You have Sixem Sourpatch and the original classic Sixem. What are the differences? Well, difference number one is the original base game is going to have you with 4 players. And you're also going to be getting a spin board, which is going to determine what your objectives are. So there's one less player in this game, where primarily everything else is practically the same, and the rules are the same as well. However, in the Sourpatch version of the game, instead of 4 players, you're going to get 5 players. In addition, instead of the general Sixem boards, you're going to be receiving these Sourpatch Kids boards that are both front and back, which is kind of cool. It represents the little Sourpatch Kids candies that my wife likes to eat all the time. The other difference between the game of the Sourpatch one versus this one here is instead of a spin down or spin board, you're going to actually get these little tiles here, which you would shuffle and you would reveal to determine your new objective for the game. It doesn't necessarily matter whether you want to spin or whether you like tiles, but I would probably say that the board here is a little nicer than the tiles, but theoretically, it doesn't really make much of a difference. So the biggest difference between the two games is that Sourpatch comes with an extra 6 dice and an extra player board, so you can play with 5 players as opposed to the general 4 players of the game. Both of them take about 15 to 30 minutes to play. It doesn't really matter whether you're playing with more players because the rounds go rather quickly, and the game is very simple. This game is about rolling dice, trying to get 1 through 6 the fastest, and also correctly identify what colors you need to be what numbers. Say stop, let players fill their boards, and then you fill last, because then you have the option to kind of fill the board pieces that you're missing and remove pieces for players who might have higher amounts of lines. Because if you're last and you only need pink 3 and somebody had rolled a pink 3, but you are the first person to stop, they can't remove it because you don't have it yet. So when it comes back to you, you can fill in pink 3 to fill your board's lines and then win the game. So it's obviously best to be able to say the word stop, but there are some cases where you're going to need to actually get certain colors to be certain numbers, and so that might slow you down. So it might also be worth it to not be the first player to stop. But there's a chance that a player can remove one of your colors off of the game board and thusly stop you from winning the game. It's a simple game. It's pretty straightforward. 2 main things you're going to be doing: removing marks from other players and placing them on your board to kind of fill out a bingo aspect to the game. And it works for pretty much anybody. You can learn this game in about 4 or 5 minutes, and the game is rather quick, and you can play as many times as you want. So it's a fun game. Now, this is kind of a casual family party game. It's light, it's simple, it's very straightforward. It's what I would call a classic board game that doesn't require as much strategy in the sense of rolling. I mean, there is strategy to the game, like how you choose to roll and how fast you want to roll and what spaces you want to cover, but you're never obviously you're going to always get what you want because you're constantly just rolling dice as fast as you can. And in fact, if you're a fast die roller, you're going to have a better shot at winning this game than a slower dice roller. That's really the main strategy to this game, is being able to roll fast, identify your dice as quickly as possible, select the dice that you need based on those numbers, and continue to roll until you can get 1 through 6, thusly securing your victory. And of course, other players can kind of team up on you. If you're about to win, the other players might have the dice required in order to remove those marks on your board that are going to make you successful, and that can make the game drag on a little bit, even if you technically were pretty close to winning, because players are going to definitely always target the player who's ahead, which can then usually allow for a thing like Munchkin, where players who are behind can catch up or even exceed other players and eventually just straight up win, where everybody has removed marks from my board because I'm so close to winning, but then the guy over here had actually filled his board and no one was paying attention. So being aware of your other players' boards is reasonable. It's something you should consider. For a light game, there is a lot of paying attention to not only how you roll, but what other players' boards are. I found this title to be fine, probably somewhere in the middle for me. It's pretty light, it's pretty straightforward. It's a game that I can teach to pretty much anybody, and we did play this multiple times. I think we even played this once on a stream, and if not, this game would make for a really good stream. I can't remember if I did or not, so we played it throughout a full night of games. It's a really nice filler game that works in between other games when you want to take a break from something that's a little more heavy. There's definitely a kind of a light way to finish off a night or to begin a game night. The Sourpatch version, while I prefer the spinner, does have an extra player, so if you're looking to play with 5 players as opposed to 4, that's the way we'd go. And if you like the Sourpatch Kids IP, for some reason, I don't know, it's kind of a weird IP, like Sour Patch Kids candy. I don't know how it relates to games or dice, but it's cute. You know, there are people who would like it. I think my wife probably likes that version of the game better than this one, just because it's a little bit more colorful and it's something that she enjoys. And I was kind of half expecting there to be candy in the box, but to my surprise, there was just unique little Sour Patch Kids boards. Okay, the boards are thick. The high quality, they're nice, they work really well. The spinners are nice as well, it spins very well. And the dice are pretty standard multicolored dice that are easy to tell the difference between, which is very helpful. Couldn't tell you about colorblind people though, I wouldn't know. And these little dry erase markers, excellent for use on the game board. However, just like all dry erase markers, eventually they're going to go kaput and you'll have to get new ones. Overall, a fun, pretty standard, straightforward dice chucker with some unique little bits of strategy. A simple game, easy game, and something that's probably going to last you for quite some time if you enjoy a game like this. For me, it's another straight down the middle game. If you're looking for it, there'll be a link down below. Thank you guys for watching the Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Sixem and the Sixem Sour Patch Kids version. If you're interested, like I said, there's a link down below in the description for you to pick up either of these versions of the game. You can also, if you'd like, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button so you can see more of our videos that we produce every week, about 2 or 3 videos a week, plus a live stream on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. PST. But like I said before, my PC is currently down, so my live streams are kind of kaput until I'm able to get that back up and running, which hopefully will be fairly soon. Alright guys, that's pretty much all I got for you this time. And as always, I look forward to chucking some Sixems with you and eating some Sour Patch as well next time.